Shalom, welcome to the Language of the Prophets series. We are on Torah portion Vayeshev, and today we're going through the second aliyah, that is the second reading. I'm your host, Rabbi Yirmeyah Benavrom, and I will be your guide today as we go through the second aliyah. The second aliyah can be found in Bereshit, that is the book of Genesis, chapter 37, verse 12 through 22. Let's get started, shall we? First Yod Pei, that's 12. That's a very short clause. So we're talking, of course, about Yoseph, and it says, so Yedechu, this is from halach or yalach, probably halach. So the hay is fallen away, although in many of these cases, even Ezra thinks it's a yod. But I'm pretty sure it's hay. Anyway, yalach and halach both mean the same thing, to go. So Yelechu means they will go, and the Vav is changing the time, it's a Vav conversive, so Vayelechu means and they went. Chayv. So this is pronominal suffix. Sorry, I was distracted by these kids and dogs outside. A lot of noise. His brothers. So these are the subject of the verb here. So his brothers went lirot, to pasture, to act as pastors, right? Or like a shepherd, act as shepherds, something like that. Et tzon. So what did they shepherd? Tzon, sheep. Avihem. We have a construct chain, the sheep of their father. Right? So the sheep, or the flock of their father. So their father's flock. This is him, is there, so it makes this definite, so the whole chain is definite. Bishchem. So this is Shechem, so it's at Shechem, or in Shechem. That's what that's saying. Verse Yod Gimel. Vayomer Yisrael El Yosef Aloho achecha roim bishchem cha yashlachacha alehem. Oops. Sometimes when you're reading it's hard to get the timing just right. So Yomer means he will say. Vayomer means and he said. So and Yisrael said El unto Yosef. Here we have a hey interrogative. So this is a question mark word here. So with the hey interrogative, it's kind of like I mentioned before, that upside down sign in Espanol. Right? You ever seen those? So it's kind of telling you how to read the sentence that you're on. So halo achecha, have not your, and it's kind of an interesting odd spelling for lo. Right? Usually we just see lamed aleph, so there's a lamed vav aleph here. So have not achecha, your brothers, ro'im, are they not shepherding? Bishchem at Shechem. Lecha. So this is the imperative form of halach. So hey is missing. And when you have a pay, when you have a hey at the beginning of a verb, oftentimes it falls away, right? So lecha is go, like we have the Torah portion lech lecha, get yourself up and go. So go, esh lachacha, and I will send you. Do you see all of that packed on there? It's quite a lot of stuff. So the eshlach, that means I will send, right? Or I am sending. This part right here. And then we have the pronominal suffix at the end, cha. So you know that he's talking to Yosef, the second masculine singular. And then we have our vav conversive at the beginning. And this might be a vav emphaticum here, so he's probably saying like, I'm definitely sending you, right? I'm definitely sending you, alehem, unto them. Vayomer lo hineni. Okay, and he said to him. This is an interesting phrase in Hebrew. It doesn't exactly translate directly into English. So hineni, it's something like, here am I now. So it implies both now and it implies here. And this is the usual way that we should answer a call or a charge by someone who is in a spiritual authority above us. So according to Rashi, on his commenting on Midrash Rabbah, he says that I left this out of here, that the dots here, that these indicate that when they went to shepherd, they only went to feed their own bodies, they went to feed themselves, right? So you should note, the Masorah points out that only 15 times in the entire Tanakh do we have et with dots over it, right? So there's something interesting happening here. Sorry, my stuff is out of order. And on the Hineni, here is Rashi's comment, an expression denoting, here am I, humility and readiness. Yoseph was zealous to perform his father's bidding, although he was aware that his brothers hated him. And Rashi calls out Bereshit Rabbah here, 84:13, but I did not see that in that section. It's possible that he had I don't have a critical edition of that midrash, so maybe he had a different version or there's some slight variation. I like to check up to make sure. Okay, verse Yodalet. Vayomer loho lechanarei et shalom achecha et shalom hatzom v'hashiveni davar. Okay, long clause. So he said to him, Lechna, go please, or go now. Re'eh. So this is the imperative from, the word, ra'ah, go now, please, look, or see, or notice, shalom achecha. So what is that about? Shalom achecha. So first of all, it's a construct chain. So let's mark it. The shalom achecha. So achecha we know. Achim means brothers. And the cha at the end means your, right? So that's your brothers. And since it's your, this means that the chain is definite. And just like up here we had Som Avihem, the Ham made the whole thing definite. So we had to say the flock of your father, right? Or the sheep of your father. Same thing here. Shalom Achecha makes it the peace of your brothers. And in Hebrew, peace of someone is just how you express their state of being. Like, are they well or not? Are they doing okay? What are they up to? So like you can say, Ma shlomcha, how is your peace? How are you doing? Right? And you could answer, Shlomi tov, my peace is well, right? Things are going well with me. And that still happens to this day, that method of expressing well-being in Hebrew. All right. So continuing on, Et shlom hatzon. Okay, and this is interesting. Now his father, he's building up the case for Yosef, a little bit more for him. He has a little bit more for him to check on. Not just how the brothers are doing, but also how the livestock is doing. This is a true espionage mission now. Okay, so shlom, hatzon, is a construct chain, and since we have ha here, the sheep, the flock, then the whole chain has to be shalom. And you'll notice it's not shalom here. There was a comet, right? Shalom. We say shalom. We don't usually say shalom. We say shalom. But what happens is this comet, you can zone out here if you don't care about advanced morphology, but what's happening is this comet is what we call a pre-tonic comet, right? That's one that was underneath the sheen originally. Pre-tonic meaning before the tone syllable. See? Here's the tone. Here's the tone, right? That's the tone syllable right there. That's his name. And so this is before the tone syllable. So we say shalom. But what happens with construct chains, they were read as one word in ancient times, like a compound word. And so this would have originally been something more like shalom achecha, right? You see, very fast. And so with the pre-tonic comets, when the accent, when the tone moves, once it moves, then what happens is the comets changes into a schwa. And so that's what happens here. The tone, he moves. It's purple. Hope you can see it. He moves. And this is now the tone of this new compact word. Shlom achecha. Shlom achecha. Even though we don't bother to read that way now. Read it that way now. Even same thing here with the munach. The munach, this munach, the tone moves. And so the newly created compound word, here's our tone syllable on son. Right? So this was read as one word. Shlomatzon. Shlomatzon. Even though we don't bother to read this way anymore, especially when we're canting it, we still go ahead and give the full Mulach right here, but we still pronounce the schwa as a schwa. We don't put the comets back in. Right? So that's what's happening. It's a pre-tonic comets with compensatory shortening. He shortens to the vocal schwa. So shalom and shalom. Same thing if you put a suffix on it. If you want to say my peace, it's shlomi. Right? Okay. Continue on. Vahashiveni davar. Okay. So do you recognize the root of this word? The root is shuv. Shuv. So it's a hollow verb, which means it has, in this case, it is a vav for the second root letter, right? You think of it, the vav as being hollow because it once was a w. Well, it's a very light sounding. So the first root is sheen, the second letter in the root is vav, and the third is veit. And of course we know that shuv is to return, right? Like to make teshuvah, right? To return to Elohim. So this is a he-fil form. It's a little bit hard to recognize, but we do have the hey preformative. And the hirik that would have been here has actually caused, the yod that would have been here has come down and lengthened the short hirik vowel into a long vowel, sere. So that's how you can recognize it as being he-fil. So he-fil means causative, right? So the causative stem. So cause to return, right? So what does that mean? To bring back, right? So and bring back ni, to me. Bring back to me davar, word, right? News of what's happening with both achecha and also with hatzon. Vayishlachehu me'emek Benavrom, vayavo shechema. So here we have shalach. This is the verb. Shalach, you know. We have a pronominal suffix at the end, hu. Right? So yishlachehu would mean, this is imperfect, he will send him. Okay? But we have our vav conversive here, swapping the time. So, and he sent, or so he sent him. Me'emek Chevron. Here we have another construct chain. Emek Chevron. So Chevron, Hebron, right? Chevron is a place name. So are place names specific places or are they general places? Of course they're specific, right? So that means the definiteness of that last word will be transferred over here. Emek means valley, right? So from, and then the mean here you probably recognize, men and noon. And the noon tried to assimilate into the ayin. But ayin is a gadol, and gadols do not double. So instead, the little chirik that was down here, which is a short vowel, has lengthened to a long vowel tseve. Right? That's what happened. The noon tries to go in, and then denied, comes back out, lengthens to a full vowel, if you want to think about it like that. Some animated form. So from the valley of Hebron. Vayavo, vav conversive. Yavo means he will come. Vayavo, and he came, and he arrived. He came Shechema, helacative towards Shechem. Verse tet vav, so that we do not profane the divine shortcut, the divine nickname Yod and Hey, which would have been the logical for 15, right? Yod Dalet is 14, Yod Hey would have been 15, but it's not. Instead it's tet vav, 9 plus 6. Okay, so let's continue on. Vayim sa'ehu ish v'hinei to'eh basadeh. Interesting, this mysterious ish. Matzah is to find, right? We have a pronominal suffix. Yimtsa'ehu means he will find him. But we have our vav conversive here. So, and he found him, an ish, a man. So it's kind of strange construction there. So he found a man. He found him. A man. Behold, he was wandering around or stumbling around in the field. This is probably, if you're doing your own Dvar Torah, it might be interesting to research this man and explore what's going on here, right? And also why we have the seemingly superfluous Vayim Sa'ehu, and he found him. Right? It's almost like we should know who the him is. And then, as an afterthought, ish, a man. You don't have to have the who here. You see, it could have just said Vayim Sa, ish, and he found a man. But instead, it says, and he found him, a man, right? The him, this is referring to the man. That's what's weird about it. It's referring to the object. When you put a pronominal suffix on the end of a verb that way, if it's not an active participle with the suffix, then in this case it's not, then it's the object of what the verb is acting on. What did he find? Who? He found him. Who is the him? Ish, a man. And look, he was wandering around in the field. So kind of some strange stuff going on there. Very interesting. So if you just think about it for a moment, what does the man do? He's going to tell him where to go. He makes sure that he meets his brothers so that his shiksal, his fate, can be fulfilled. And it's important because Yosef ends up saving all of our ancestors, right, from starvation. Just like his dream had shown that their sheaths were bowing to his, and these sheaths of wheat, and it actually was showing that by means of wheat he would end up having his brothers prostrate down to him. Now, I think it's pretty clear. It's a malach, probably some kind of messenger from God, right? And even Rashi, he agrees. He calls out, though, that it's Gabriel, who is called the man, Gabriel. And his argument for this is he refers to the book of Daniel, chapter 9, verse 21, where it says, V'od ani medaber v'tefila v'ha'ish Gabriel asher ra'iti v'chazon v'techila mu'af v'af nogea elai ka'et minchat. So the important part is the ha'ish Gabriel, the man Gabriel. But of course we know he's not really a man, right? He's in the form of a man. And I love it when the Chazal disagree. Ibn Ezra, however, disagrees with this opinion. And he says, look, the straightforward sense, the obvious sense, is that this was just some passerby, just some guy that happened to be there. So he doesn't necessarily think that providence is involved there at all. Hashem did not have to send a malach. Nachmanides has a much longer answer, which maybe you can check for yourself if you're curious to see what was happening there. All right. Vayishalehu ha'ish lemo ma tevakesh. Okay, so sha'al, you should know that's asked. And we have the pronominal suffix hu. So yish alehu would mean he asks him, or he will ask him. We have our vav conversive here. And he asked him. We have the same kind of weird pattern happening here. Ha'ish, the man. Lemor, saying. So this is the man doing the asking. Ma tevakesh. What are you seeking? Bikesh means to seek. So tevakesh, this is again, as I'm often telling those of you who've studied Ivrit Hadashah, the imperfect functions in present as well in the Tanakh, right? It's more, before the language was kind of mixed with Indo-European language understanding of time, time worked very differently in the Tanakh. You have more of this idea of completeness and not being completed, right? If it's complete, it's past, right? But if it's not complete, then it could be present continuous, it could be future, right? So here, in modern Hebrew, this would look like a future question, like what are you seeking, right? What will you be seeking, right? But instead, in Tanakh, it's just what are you seeking, right? Okay, verse Tet Zayin, so that's 16. Vayomer et achai anochi mevakesh. And he said, it's interesting, we have a little bit of emphasis here. Maybe Yosef has some consternation. Remember, I mentioned that the object of the verb comes after the verb usually, so we would expect this to be here. Since it's here, there's some kind of emphasis, or sometimes it can just be an attraction, it's called. Because there's a question that this is answering, it can be attraction. So you might not have to emphasize this in your sentence. I'll leave that up to you. So since the man just asks, Ma tevakesh, it makes sense to answer. What did he say? My brothers, right? My brothers. Anochi mevakesh. I am active participle searching for. Hagidan ali, eifohem ro'im. So again, this is from Nagad. We had this one in yesterday's aliyah. It's a pei nun verb, and the nun has gone inside of the gimel, if you like to think of it like that. So, like Haggadah on Pesach. So, tell please, li, to me, Eifo, where, ham, are they, ro'im, shepherding. verse 17. Yod Zayin. Vayomer ha'ish nas'u mizeh ki שמעתי אומרים נלכה דותנה. Right? So he said, or then the man said, Nasa'u mizeh. They pulled up stakes. They traveled from this, really, right? Meaning from here. We would have expected more like mitpol. But mizeh, from this, because I heard them saying, Omerim, right? Saying, Nelecha, let us go to Dotan. So the hey is motion towards, hey lakativ, the hey at the end there. Nelecha, so this is a cohortative. There's like a little bit of a, it's like, let us go. There's a little bit of an exclamation point there with the hey. They could have just said, Nelech, we're going, right? We are going to go, right? But instead, let us go. Let's go. Vayelech Yoseph me'alami. Okay, hold on. Looks like there's an error here with this. The thing is floating over the text. That's not what the text is supposed to say. See if I can remember what it should say. Yeah, okay. Sorry that is there. So I think it's going to say, Vayelech Yosef acher or acharei echav. So Yosef said, so Yosef went after his brothers. Sorry that this alamim is there. I'm not sure how that ended up there. I must have left it when I did a copy paste or something. So that is binding, right? Like binding sheaves. It's from yesterday's Aliya. And for interest of time, I'm just going to leave this little error in here. And I'm pretty sure it says acher. Vayim tza'ein. The Dotan, and he found aim. He found the mem is a pronominal suffix, them. Yimsa'im means he will find. Vayimsa'im means, and he found them in Dotan. Okay, so great success. He found them. Continuing to verse Yod Chet, which is 18. Vayir'u oto mirachok. And they saw him from afar. V'terem yikrav alehem vayitnakalu oto lachamito. Okay, and before, b'terem means before, not like physical presence before someone, but before temporally. Before yikrav, he could draw near. So this is kind of like subjunctive mood. We don't really have moods in Hebrew. Alehem, unto them. Vayit nakalu. So this is this word nakal. It's a little hard to bring across. It can mean things like to be sneaky, right? Like to be slick, right? To act deceptively, right? Like to have like evil cunning towards somebody. It's a hitpa'el verb. So the idea it's not that they're doing it to themselves, but they're doing it. They're using their own faculties, right? Mental faculties. So yit nakalu means, so yit nakalu, so they behaved deceptively. They behaved cunningly, right? Yit nakalu would mean, and they will, but then the vav, again, makes it, and they did this. Oto, to him. Nachamito, in order to murder him. Or to, this is hifil form of mot, which is to die. And so the hifil, to cause to die, that's to murder. We have the pronominal suffix at the end there. Yikes. Yod tet. 19. Vayomru ish el achiv. And they said ish el achiv. So this is actually a Hebrew idiom. Literally it says a man towards his brother, right? And this is just one way in Talachit to express one another, right? So they said, each one to one another. Hine, look, Ba'al hachalamot halazeh ba. Now this is interesting, this halazeh. This seems to capture the speech that we've seen from Lavan's relatives before. It's just interesting for me to see that again. So, behold, Ba'al chalamot. So this is a construct form. Now in Hebrew, Ba'al, it means husband or master, right? Like in a marriage, there's Isha, which just means woman, and then there's Ba'al, which is like owner, right, or master. And so if you own some kind of knowledge in Hebrew, or you're an expert at something, you're a Ba'al of whatever that is, right? In this case, he's master of dreams, is how they're calling him out. Right? Like, And by the way, the Masorah also comments on this halazeh as being kind of an unusual word here. So the Masorah itself, it captures it. And so this master of dreams, this modifies chalamot, halazeh in this case. Pardon me, sorry, he's following the master. The master, that's why it's singular. Ba is coming. So this master of dreams is coming to there. It's kind of a strange thing. Yeah, I had this old note, looks like from another slide, sorry about that. Yeah, okay. Verse Kaf, which is 20. V'ata lechu v'naharagehu v'nashlichehu be'achad haborot ve'amarnu chaya ra'a achalathu. Ouch. And now, lechu, let's go. It's from halach. Let's go, let's do it. Let's go. V'nacharagehu. So now, harag means to slay, right? Naharag means we will slay. Nacharagehu, we will slay him. So let us slay him. This vav is probably the vav emphaticum. Right? So they have an exclamation point going on here. V'nashlichehu, and let us shalach hu, let us send him. Be'achad haborot. Echad you should certainly know. Echad. Haborot. Haborot, sorry. So this is from bul, this word, and it means like it's a subterranean thing that catches water, right? That there's water stored in. So like cistern, right? Although we usually translate it as pit. The idea that there might be water down there. A bul. V'amarnu chaya ra'a, and amarnu means we said, but v'amarnu means and we will say. Chaya from the verb from the word chayim meaning alive. This means an animal, right? A chaya, it's something that's alive. What kind? Ra'a. So here's the noun. Here's the adjective. Literally an evil animal, right? An evil animal, a wild animal. Achalathu. So achal would be achala with a hey here. It'd be feminine, right? Since it's agreeing with chaya, the animal. So here's the object. The subject is the chaya, right? Coming first. Probably because that's the art of what's being used in the section. So achala would mean she ate. In other words, the chaya ate. But when you put a suffix on a word ending in a hey, the hey becomes a tav. Sorry about that drawing. So achalathu, she ate him. V'nirei ma yihyu chalamotav, and we will see. This is from Ra'ah. We will see what yihyu will become, and the subject is chalamotav. Chalamot are dreams, and the av makes it of his dreams. Rashi comments on this, saying that the verse itself is saying, expound me, right? Like interpret me. He comments that it's Ruach HaKodesh, which is saying, fine, you say we will kill him, we will slay him, we will see what will happen with his dreams. let's see whose word will come to pass, yours or mine. The text itself, Rashi writes, demands this pesher, this interpretation, because it is not possible to take those words as being said only by the brothers. For if they kill him, his dreams are obviously canceled, right? So it's kind of like, because of what's going to happen, that they had to say this. All right. And the Rashbam comments that on the lechu here, the lechu, even though it means like come now, like come, let's go, that by using this word lechu, this is actually also idiomatic in Hebrew, inviting other people to take some kind of action, right? Like let's go. Oh man, I'm trying to make the highlight. Not just literally let's go somewhere but it's really an invitation to action. And if you do the Kabbalat Shabbat, of course you'll remember that we begin the Kabbalat Shabbat with what? Lechu neranana ladonai nahariya letzui shein. Anyway, sorry, it's hard to stop a psalm once you start. But Lechu neranana, come let us make loud praise. Like that. Neranana. In this case, lechu, let's go and do something bad, is what's happening. It's the Rashbam's point. All right. Kaf Aleph 21. Vayishma Reubin vayatzilehu miadam. Baruch Hashem for that. So Yishma, he will hear. Vayishma, and he heard. Who's the he? Reubin. So Reubin heard, but Yeruvain heard. And this next word, it's hard to recognize the verb. It's natsal. Natsal. Right? So the noon is there. It's that dot that's telling us there used to be a noon here. So this means to snatch up, right? But usually, metaphorically, it means to rescue. So yatzilehu, the who is a pronominal suffix, means he will rescue him, he will snatch him up. And the vav changes it to, and he rescued him, mi yadam. So of course this was mean, from, and that's the dagesh in the yod. It's the noon one inside. From yad am. Who's yad? Am. Their hand, their power. Vayomer lo nakenu nafesh. But he said, we will not strike a life. Right? This is nakah. It's a lamed hey verb. The hey's missing, so it's hard to recognize. Nun kaf hey. That's the root of this word. We will not strike a life, a nefesh. And it's nafesh because this word is in pause. He has extra emphasis in the sentence here. We will not strike a life, or a soul, some might like to translate. But really, this word is quite flexible in the Tanakh in its different meanings. The Bechor Shor comments that Reubin realized, he understood that if instead he said, I'll tell Daddy, right, that they would kill him too, right? So that's why he tactically chose to make himself in their lot, right? You see, Reubin didn't want to do anything to Yosef, but it's important to understand the situations around us, right, folks? When we're presented with a battle-type situation, you don't just, like you always see in the movies, oh God, Jabra, the brave heart's getting his guts pulled out, because you absolutely wouldn't compromise on anything. Okay, sometimes that might be the way to go, but not always. So what good would it have done if Reubin also got sold into slavery or murdered or whatever, right? So instead, he's pretending to be on their side, and he plans to rescue him later, right? So he cast himself in their lot and says, do not take his life, but let us not. And instead he says, he doesn't say, do not take his life, lo. He didn't say lo, but he says, let us not do it, right? Lo nakenu, like together, I'm in your group. That's the Bechor Shor. That's that nice comment. It's a good point, right? Sforno comments that he did not want to end up in a trap of doing something too hastily, which would end up going down the wrong derech. And that even a tzaddik, this is a teaching that even a tzaddik can sometimes do the wrong thing. Reubin himself had done it in this case for Bilhah. That's according to Sforno. In the case of Bilhah, pardon me. All right, continuing. Verse Kaf Beit 22. Vayomer alehem Reubin Al tishbechu dam hashlicha oto el habol hazeh asher bamidbar v'yad al tishlechu vo. So he said to them, Reubin. So Reubin said to them, Al. Now this is interesting that he uses al. Al's like lo. It's like not. It's softer. Do not shafach. What is shafach? Shafach is to spill. And interestingly enough, this is the same verb. Well, it's used oftentimes in libations when you're pouring out a libation offering, right? You shafach, you pour it out, right, on the altar or whatnot. So do not spill dam, blood. And he uses the imperfect form instead of the imperative. He's not commanding them. He's using a soft command. And this is actually the preferred way to ask Hashem for things, without saying like shemor, but you say tishmor, right? Shemor is keep or protect, but if you're praying, it's better to say tishmor. You will keep, you'll protect. It softens the request. Or even better, tishmor, nah, protect, please, if you're praying in Tanachit, in biblical Hebrew. Do not spill dam, don't spill blood. Hashlicha oto. So this is from shalach. And as I mentioned many times before, when you see yod before the third root letter, or if you see the prefix hey, this indicates we're in the hifil binyan, right? The causes. So shalach is to go out, hashlichu is to send out, right? So send out oto, send out him, el habe'or hazeh, to this cistern, which asher bamidbar, in the midbar, in the wilderness. V'yad al tishlichu vo, but a hand do not tishlichu, send vo on him. So that hatzil oto miadam lashivo el aviv. Okay, it usually means so that, but in this case, it's you have to massage it a bit in English, like in this manner, in that way. Because of that, hatzil, again from natsal, hatzil, he rescued oto, him, miyadam, from their yad, from their hand. Lahashivo el aviv. So we get his actual intent. So this is from shuv. Oftentimes a vav and a hollow verb will become a yod. So the root is shin, vav, beit. Okay, shuv. And this is in order to return him, right? To cause to bring back, right? Here's the hifil preformative. Bring back whom? Him. To return him, el, unto aviv, his father. And Rashi, again, talking about Ruach HaKodesh, and he says in this whole thing, intending to save him and then bring him back to his father, that the Ivrit, the Hebrew, might even be read as if Reubin himself were adding to it to save him from them. But of course, it is in fact Ruach HaKodesh testifying that Reubin only told them in order to throw Yoseph in the bowl so that he could later remove him from there. He thought to himself, I am the Chor, I am the firstborn, I am the oldest of all of them, the biggest one. So the whole affair will end up being aliyah upon me, right? Like he's going to get in trouble for it. It's his responsibility, all that stuff. The Rashbam interprets that Reubin's kind of telling them, throw him into the bull, out in the midbar. In other words, this is a place that people don't even go. He'll just die on his own, right? And of course, he intending to save him, intending to sealed to snatch up, to rescue him. In this very real sense, snatch him up from a cistern. This is the Torah just confirming that it was Reubin's inner want that was in his heart and his mind to rescue Yosef hatsadiq. Kimchi comments on the shed no blood, that it would be innocent blood, and he doesn't deserve to die. Even as much as he hurt your feelings with his cholamot, if you also caused him pain, and if you cast him into the pit, this is, as continuation shows, Reubin did not himself even want to hurt Yosef at all. It was only part of his plan to bring him back to Aviv, his father. So there seems to be great agreement among Chazal about Reubin did not even want to do any kind of harm to him, right? Despite what Reubin later does, not to Yosef, but in general. He at least has this in his favor. Okay, so that is the end of the second aliyah. Please post comments or questions down below, and I will get back to them as soon as I can. Bli neder. Shalom, shalom.